Welcome all of you to 10 a.m. to the point editorial discussion by Neva Yes. In this video, we are going to comprehensively discuss all the editorial articles of the Hindu newspaper of 6th July 2024. So, before going into the video, let me bring to your attention that Neva Yes has launched its 15-month mentorship program. All the details of the mentorship program is explained in a video, the link of which is given in the description box of this video. Also check out the Neva Year's Telegram channel for the handout of this particular discussion as well as our monthly current affairs magazine. So in today's Hindu, we have one article for detailed discussion which is on the idea of essential religious practice under article 25. We'll have this article as a detailed discussion article. The other articles will have a quick overview. We have this ground zero part where the recent incident in HATHRAS where 120 people were killed is explained in detail as a case study. We have an article of the rise of far right in Europe and especially in France. We have an article on the victory of Labour Party in UK. That was the biggest news of the day. You also have an article on Prime Minister Modi breaking his silence on the Manipur issue. The Hindu has an extremely critical editorial on that particular issue as well. Let's move to the articles one by one. We'll start with the Hindu editorial on Prime Minister Modi breaking his silence on the Manipur issue. The newspapers say that this is the first time since the incident occurred, the ethnic conflict occurred, that Prime Minister is making a substantial statement on the issue. Now that the statement has been made and the Prime Minister has made it clear in the Parliament that the situation has somewhat normalized in Manipur, but Hindu quotes the data from Geneva-based International Displacement Monitoring Center. So they released the data. So this data was published in the Hindu itself a few days back. We have discussed it in this session because one editorial on this particular data was there, and that data says that out of 69,000 people displaced from entire South Asia in last year, that is 2023, out of 69,000 people who were displaced from entire South Asia in 2023, 67,000 were from Manipur. So this is the single biggest issue, not just in India but also in South Asia. And it is in such kind of an incident that has such gravity that the Prime Minister has kept silence for a long time. The newspaper uses very hard language here. The newspaper says that silence is the stock response of the Prime Minister when it comes to issues like this, but he is not hesitant in taking credits for the achievements of the government. The newspaper also says that Article 355, which deals with presidential rule or state emergency, is imposed in the state without an official declaration. So if that is the case, then situation is not normal. There is huge resentment against the current Prime Minister in Biren Singh. So either the chief minister should be removed from the post or there should be a permanent solution to the Manipur issue. Two areas are mentioned in this article. One is the Imphal district, which is the capital. So the Kukis who were displaced from the Imphal district cannot still go back to their places. Second is the Churachandpur district, where you have a Kuki domination. So the Meiteis who were displaced from the Churachandpur district cannot go back to that place as well. So the situation is far from normal in Manipur and this is the status quo. Let's move to the second article. As I said, the biggest news of the day is the UK elections. And first I'll explain you the mandate, then only the article becomes understandable for you. So UK has a parliamentary form of governance, just like India. So we have adopted our governance style from UK. And in UK you have two houses. In the UK Parliament you have two houses. One is the House of Commons and the other is the House of Lords. The election takes place to the House of Commons because the other one is largely nominated by the King. It is like a Rajya Sabha, but not exactly. It is mostly nomination based. And in this house, they have over 600 seats, 650 to be precise. So in the current elections, the Labour Party got a landslide victory. They got 412 seats. The Conservative Party, they got only 118 seats. And the far right party, led by Nigel Farage, won 4 seats. So they have been losing for a long time because their ideology was very extreme. Something like xenophobic in nature, which they say out in the public, but they have won 4 seats. This Conservatives, who has been reduced to 118 seats, was led by Rishi Sunak, as you all know. So the Conservatives had a 14-year-old tenure in UK. They were ruling the state for more than 14 years. So it is in 1997, Tony Blair won the elections in UK. So Tony Blair, after that, for 3 consecutive terms, the Labour Party continued to be in power. After that, it was the Conservatives. But Britain saw a lot of issues in the last few years of the Conservative rule, because they faced with the issue of Brexit, because there was huge migration to Britain, and Brexit and their economic fortunes were interlinked. As a result, they were pushed into an economic crisis coupled with the Ukraine-Russia war. So all these things added to their inflation, economic crisis, and because of that, they had to change prime ministers in very quick terms. Before Rishi Sunak, it was Liz Truss. Before that, it was Boris Johnson. And when Rishi Sunak took over the power, they claimed that the economic state got somewhat normalized. And that was the confidence for Rishi Sunak to call for early elections. They called for early elections, considering that the economic situation has somewhat normalized, and they also passed the Rwandan extradition bill. So people who come to UK through small boats would be extradited to the state of Rwanda in Africa during their processing time. So they expected UK to vote in favor of them because of all these policies, because Europe is generally seeing a right-wing wave. That wave is anti-immigrant in nature. But to everyone's surprise, the landslide victory was given to the Labour Party. Now, when you talk about the priorities of Labour Party, as the name itself suggests, it is not a pro-rich party. So they will tax the rich. That these are their policy priorities: taxing the rich and wealth creation of the working class, and rethinking of the immigration law. Anyway, there needs to be a solution for the immigration issue in UK, but this solution adopted by them is not the way ahead, says the Labour Party. So they will rethink the solution. Then there is the India-UK roadmap. So the current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has also already criticized the Rishi Sunak regime for delaying the India-UK free trade agreement. We have signed the India-UK roadmap in 2021. So in 2030, that 2030 is our wish list to the India-UK roadmap of 2030, as it is called. We have signed it in 2021. We are expecting to sign a free trade agreement before this. So we expect the new Prime Minister to take up it and quicken it so that the free trade agreement comes into a reality. So I hope you got an idea about the mandate, the nature of the UK Parliament, the implication on India in this regard, and the new policy changes that are going to come. Now let's move to a similar article. It deals with the larger context of rising neo-fascism in Europe. This neo-fascism, in other words, is the far right. Now the author starts by quoting the statement of Kylian Mbappe, who is the captain of French football team. So just like Mbappe, the French football team, if you have a look, if you take Dembélé, if you take all the players, a good number of them are not ethnically French. So they have migrants from different countries. France is home to a lot of other statesmen from countries like Morocco. So when Morocco defeated France in the last World Cup, there were huge celebrations in France by the Moroccan migrants. So France has a very diverse society in that sense. And that fuels the growth of far right. Because as I said, there is a huge anti-immigrant sentiment in Europe right now. Something on the lines of ethnic nationalism. This is a global trend. Donald Trump is someone who goes along the same lines. And Europe is not different. And in the recent European Parliament elections, so right now France is ruled by Emmanuel Macron's centrist party. But in the European Parliament elections, Maria Le Pen's National Ally, it's a very right-wing party, far-right party. This party got a significant majority. And considering this majority, Macron dissolved the government and called for a snap elections, a quick elections. And then in the first round of the elections, this Macron's party was again in the back foot. The National Ally got the biggest share. So in the second round, maybe France will have a coalition government or the National Ally will come into power. So what Kylian Mbappe said is that the extremists are on the gates of power. So this sentiment is against the far right in Europe. These people like Kylian Mbappe says that They don't share, they don't wish to play for a country that doesn't share their values. So these far right forces, just like the Maria Le Pen's party in France or the party that I explained in the context of UK, Nigel Farage's party, these parties are xenophobic in nature. They make statements or they follow policies that are against migrants and mostly in a xenophobic line. So that is why there is huge resentment against that as well. But this is the reality of Europe at present, and that is why the author has named it as neo-fascism that is haunting Europe. Let's move to the big story of the day, the ground zero section. It has covered the HATHRAS accident. So in HATHRAS, few days back, at least 120 people were killed, and they were killed in a stampede. And this stampede occurred allegedly when 2.5 lakh people gathered in a place that could accommodate only 80,000 people. So 2.5 lakh people gathered there, and they rushed to obtain the dust from the feet of Bole Baba. Bole Baba is a self-styled godman. He was born as Surajpal Singh, and he was a police constable for 10 years. After that, he transformed himself into a godman named Narayan Sakar Hari or Bole Baba. His followers are mostly women who are dressed in pink color. He is known for curing diseases, fertility issues, etc. And in this particular incident, he says that he left the venue long before the stampede occurred. But other evidences and people who were part of the event says that this occurred when people rushed to obtain the dust from his feet, which is considered as his blessing. So this throws light into the inefficiency of the UP administration as well, because it is such a big event that has taken place without much precautions. And even after the incident took place, dead bodies were piled up outside the hospitals for postmortem. So it shows insensitivity, it shows lack of capacity and infrastructure from the administration. This article covers this incident in detail in the form of case studies. The emotional journey of the devotees are covered in this article. So that's the takeaway. I hope you got a comprehensive idea about the particular incident. Let's move to the final article, which is on freedom of religion. This is the only article that we'll discuss from the exam perspective in detail today. So let's understand the case of Naveen Kumar. The same case was discussed in Hindu few days back. I'll repeat everything. The Naveen Kumar case of 2024 is a case where a practice called Anga Pradikshana was upheld by the Madras High Court. And while upholding this practice in the Naveen Kumar case of 2024, the Madras High Court overruled the judgment of the same court of 2015. So Anga Pradikshanam is a practice where people roll over banana leaves that are left over after having food. So people will have food from the banana leaves and this is left over, and others will take a procession of rolling over this. This is the practice of Anga Pradikshana. Now this was banned in 2015, citing that it is unhealthy and it is casteist in nature. Those people who roll over this are mostly Dalits and OBCs. But in this case, the judge found out that it is not just Dalits who roll over this. There are non-Dalits as well. So it cannot be brought under the ambit of caste discrimination. And this person, Naveen Kumar, who has went to the court, argued that it comes under, he has taken a vow to take Anga Pradikshanam, and it comes under the purview of Article 25, which is right to freedom of worship. So it is part of his freedom of worship to do Anga Pradikshanam. It is also the part of his right to life. He even argued that it is part of Article 19 as well, because rolling over the banana leaves is part of his right to movement under Article 19. But the court gave the verdict on the basis of these two arguments, saying that it is part of the essential religious practice under Article 25. But this article is gravely in criticism to the decision. It says that the constitutional forefathers, the constitutional makers, and the Supreme Court over the period of time has undermined the power of Article 25 over other fundamental rights. So Article 25 is subordinate in nature with respect to other fundamental rights. Religious practices have been brought down to essential religious practices for them to stand the test of other fundamental rights. One example is the Babri Masjid case. So in that case, the Supreme Court ruled that offering prayer, even though offering prayer is an essential religious practice, offering prayer in that particular place was not an essential religious practice, said the court, because the place should also have some significance. So that particular religious practice was overlooked in the name of essential religious practice. But here, something like this that is very outrightly unhealthy in nature and something that may appear superstitious for a large number of people was upheld in the name of an essential religious practice. And that's why it is called into question, and it has started a new debate on the idea of essential religious practice. The author starts the article with a very famous quote of Australian judge that was made. The judge says that religion to one is superstition to another. So this is one quote you can use in an essay or a ethics paper. It says a religion to one, so be it any religion. If if person X is following one religion and person Y is following another religion, both are religious. But for Y, the religion of X will be a superstition. So on that front, the article concludes by saying that jurists and courts shouldn't be theologists in nature. They shouldn't be dwelling into questions of theology. They should be only looking at matters of law. So that's the takeaway from this particular article. This case can be quoted in issues like this, freedom of religion and freedom of expression. So that's the takeaway from the Hindu editorial of July 6th, 2024. I once again remind you to check out the Niva Ye's Telegram channel for the handout of this particular discussion. You can also check out the link in our description, which explains the 15-month mentorship program organized by Niva Ye's. Thank you for listening.